your life there has been sadness, you have felt alone, you have known despair, and doubted that you've grown, you have dreams and needs. I can't see, how do I know these things? 'Cause you are just like me. Willing to let go, to live and let live. I turn you loose. Forget and forgive. I see the whole picture. What I ask for is clear. Forgive me for using you to stay in my fear. If you can do this, you too might find places where we agree. 'Cause just like me, you're seeking happiness. Just like me, you don't wanna cry. In your life there has been sadness, and you have felt alone. You have known despair, doubted that you've grown. You have dreams and needs. I can't see, how do I know these things? 'Cause you are just like me.
How many times have I made you wrong? Have I stewed in my sorrow, my anger, my longing for justice, reparation, healing, and peace, when the only thing missing for healing was me? I see you now clearly, your struggle, your shame, my sister, my brother. We're one and the same, pushing pain on each other till we wake up and see the beauty, the freedom of our unity.
How often we all forget to look for our common ground. When we can hold out, remember we're all here together. There's no need for blame, 'cause we're really the same. And just like me, you're seeking happiness. Just like me, you don't wanna cry. In your life there has been sadness, and you have felt alone. You have known despair, and doubted that you've grown. You have dreams and needs that I can't see. How do I know these things? 'Cause you are just like me. Just like me. Just like me.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
That was Just Like Me by Melissa and Z. And I just found out that there's no live stream on Facebook. There's no connection. I don't know why. So it's on YouTube. So those of you that are joining us on YouTube, yay! And we will post a YouTube video later on the Facebook page for those that are interested. So welcome to Center for Spiritual Living Morristown. And my name is Frankie Timmers, for those of you that don't know me. Most may be online, and I'm so glad to be here today and to be in spiritual communion with everybody. We're really blessed because we have John and Val Del Iacono today doing social hour. It's their 50th wedding anniversary. celebration, half a century of love and growth, because obviously they may have had a couple of ups and downs, is my guess, right? And to move through that and to grow from that is a beautiful thing. So we're in August, and the theme for August is unstatus quo, another very interesting topic, right? And today's topic is let's shake it up, shake it up, shake it up. So how are we going to shake it up? Well, we're going to shake it up by challenging our experience around change. And as my teacher used to say, the only person who likes change is a baby with a dirty diaper. We can kind of think about that, and we've gone through quite a few changes because a few years ago we moved in here, and it caused a lot of changes, right? And this is my last year-ish at the center. My official re-inspirement date is March 2nd. My last Sunday, and we're planning a big party on the 7th. So that's a lot of change, right? And so how about we apply the spiritual principles that we've learned? Right? How about we apply all the things that we've learned over the years, all the ways that we've grown, all the changes that we've gone through, because I can tell everybody here learned how to walk, and learned how to talk, and learned how to drive, maybe most of you, right? So we've learned things as we've gone, and so that never ends until we take our last breath. So we have John Heron here with us today. He is a licensed practitioner in the Center for Spiritual Living, Princeton. We're always glad when he's here. He's going to share some wisdom and do a short healing practice, a guided meditation. So let's start with our Namaste practice, which is really apropos today because Namaste means the divinity in me blesses the divinity in you. The cool thing about that is that that's really what my talk is about today. Is, do we bless the divinity only in people we like? People we hang out with? People who think like we do? Or do we bless the divinity in everyone? Obviously, we know that the principles of Science of Mind say we bless the divinity in everyone. So then we can see where we withhold that blessedness. Obviously no one in here, right? But in the world. I mean, imagine if we went around all the time saying namaste to everybody, right? It would be interesting because we would notice where it's easier and where it isn't. So let's put our hands together, bow to one another and say namaste. Namaste. The divinity in me blesses the divinity in you. All right, let's do an opening treatment, which is our word for affirmative prayer. So as we take a moment to close our eyes, or if that's not comfortable, soften our gaze and withdraw our attention from the outer world, we just notice the breath and notice the heartbeat and notice that as a link to life with a small n, and notice that that life is a link to the universal life that is at the source of everything. It's everywhere, present in everyone, everything, everywhere, and that's our individual evolution, to awaken to the presence and the power of divine love everywhere. And so we've been given this incarnation, this earth experience to evolve, not to stay the same, but to evolve and to grow, especially spiritually, because we know that consciousness creates our reality. So it's the inner experience that shows up in the outer experience, and the outer experience becomes a mirror for us to relax, to let go, to surrender, to trust, and of course to heal. Knowing that in our teaching, healing means wholeness. So it's about remembering that our essential nature is whole and how we express that and experience that in our day-to-day living. And then we suspend any judgment because there's enough of that to go around. And we allow it to become our wisdom nature, our awareness nature, our mindfulness and heartfulness nature. By witnessing where we are out of alignment with the truth of our being and how we can allow truth to slip into those places and dissolve whatever is in the way and open our minds and our hearts to a new way of standing in the world, standing on this holy ground. So I am very, very grateful for all of life's experiences, and I'm very grateful that I get to hang out with a group of people who feel the same way, who practice the same thing, but is different for each of us, because in our teaching we honor and celebrate the uniqueness of every individualized expression of the One. So there's a lot of grace and glory to go around for us to be grateful for. And so we allow that blessing to be turned over to the universal law, which knows exactly how to demonstrate it in the highest and best way for each and every one of us. And that we welcome, and that we accept, and so it is. So it is. So, I had a dream last night, and that dream changed my talk a bit today. And when I was sharing it with John, he was sharing his dream. And what I love about dreams is I record my dreams, and then I work with them, like Bill does. Bill's going to teach a workshop at some point for us, we hope, on dream work. Because dreams are the unconscious speaking to us. And I had two similar dreams this morning, which was really kind of strange. But the first dream was where I was witnessing a couple in a hospital bed. It was a really big bed because the wife was giving birth and the husband wanted to be there. So the doctor was there, and all of a sudden I look, and there's a baby on the bed above the man's head. And I'm like, what was that? And when I took a closer look at the baby, I'm still working with this dream, by the way. When I looked at this baby, the baby was malformed. It had no legs, but it had awkward feet. Like the, what do they call that? The phthalimide, what was that? Thalidomide babies. I don't like that name, right? I don't call a baby. But, and then it was very bloated, and it had a very big head, and it was just rolling around. And I said to the husband, that's its superpower. And what I realized was that that's what we talked about all of last month. We explored our imperfections, our flaws, the things we call our imperfections and our flaws, and we begin to think of them as gifts and blessings. And we begin to think of them as our superpower instead of a burden or an obstacle or something bad or wrong about us. If you have not listened to those talks, good news, they're all on YouTube, so you can go back and check them out. But the cool thing about that is that how interesting that flows right into August, where we explore the theme of unstatus quo, where we explore this thing of differences and othering. I love that new verb, it's a new verb for me, and this idea of change. Now, we've all experienced change, right? Anybody here never experienced change? We've all experienced change. And all of us went, yay, change! Woo! Probably not, right? So when we experience changes, there is something that happens to our human nature, our ego nature, that goes, oh, change. Why do you think we fear change? Anybody?
The unknown.
It's the unknown, uncertainty. Anything else?
The discomfort.
It's discomfort.
We prefer stability.
We prefer stability. We like status quo. We don't want things to change. And isn't that interesting? Because when we explore this idea, which is, by the way, a very human ego need, that we don't like change, imagine if we had resisted change all along. We'd all be crawling on, knees and hands and going, right? So change is so much a natural part of life. And it makes us look at where we resist change the most. And I would say that where we resist change the most is when we experience differences. Now, we're a lovely group of mostly white people, and when we step into an environment maybe where people are different, we might notice our discomfort. I mean, just imagine if 20 people walked in that were very different from us. Different race, different disabilities, different political points of view, different size, shape, all that. And then how would we feel, right? We like our similarities. We don't like the unstatus quo. But it's an amazing, interesting thing because on the spiritual path, we're constantly being invited to notice where we feel different, to notice who and what we judge. So has anybody here ever felt like you were not accepted or not welcomed, where you were othered? Yeah, anybody? When I was a child, I was one of 9 children, I was number 6. I asked my mother about 4 times, was I adopted? Mom, did you adopt me? And she'd say, why would you say that? Why do you think you're adopted? I said, I don't know, I'm just so different from my other brothers and sisters. I feel like I was, so later on I kind of worked with that saying, maybe my soul fell into the wrong nest or a nest that wasn't right for me. But I was able to learn that and grow with that, and I am the same in many ways in my family, but I'm also different. I left the country, I became a minister, I traveled places they would never travel, I learned things or explored things that they would never explore, and all that is really beautiful, right? Because we're all different at a soul level. And so, how did you feel othered, those of you that raised your hand? How or when or where did you feel othered, like you didn't belong, like you were different?
Ignored.
Huh?
Ignored.
Being ignored.
Outcast at school.
Outcast at school, bullied at school. Yeah.
Older than everyone at work.
Older than everyone else at work. Older or younger, right?
Sexually abused.
Being sexually abused, yes. And so there's so many different ways where we begin to feel different and feel other and feel separate. And so isn't it interesting that right now we live in a world where the glaringness of division has shown itself because the shadow of this culture, this country, maybe the world, has risen to the top and has become blatantly visible. Most of that is because of social media, which has a lot of really great things, but it also has a lot of dangers and challenges to it. And so if you and I are on a spiritual path, what's very important is that we look at life and look at our experiences from a metaphysical, because we're a metaphysical teaching, from a spiritual point of view, and put that into practice. Otherwise, we're really just wasting our time, right? And so the fact that we are witnessing a very divided world doesn't come out of nowhere. It didn't just pop up. It is an outer effect of something that was there all along. And each of us is responsible because we get to say, where do I other? Where do I differentiate? What people or groups do I judge as different from me and I think they're less than me. The invitation is always to look at life and the world as a mirror and say, what is there for me? What is called for me to heal, to experience, to practice, to see differently? What must I embrace? Because we know that the spiritual principle is as within, so without. So what we see in the world is a reflection of what's happening in our consciousness, and we do the work in consciousness. And then once we do the work in consciousness, we take that into the world and we prove it. We live it. Maybe in little tiny pockets and maybe in a more global way. And so when we notice the shadow, which is where we other, and the great definition of othering is that it's when we view or treat others as intrinsically different from ourselves. So it is stereotyping, right? It's this us versus them. Nobody here does that, especially politically, right? And so it's a real opportunity to not only reflect on where we do that, but to have the conversations, the open and honest conversations with people who are different, and ask them questions. Tell me more. What do you think? How do you know? It's a wonderful way for us to stay connected, because if there's anything I've noticed since COVID is that we don't have those kind of connections in the same way anymore. That's why people are so obnoxious on social media and say and do things that are crazy, right? And so I think it's a very powerful time for us to practice this healing teaching, because that's what Science of Mind is. It's a healing teaching. And to reveal the healing that is happening or wants to happen or has happened, and to put that into practice. And it's a tall task, but I don't know about the alternative. Because the tall task is, yes, I am responsible for my experience. I am responsible for my perception, my interpretation, what I witness, to explore that, to work with that, to look at that, and to release whatever still feels divided and separating. So this month's Science of Mind magazine, which we have 2 left if anybody wants it, has a wonderful article in it, and I copied the article, so it's over there if anybody wants to pick it up. And it's the article that is by Reverend Soni Cantrell-Smith and Reverend Michelle Arellano, and they're a spiritual leader and the executive director of Centers for Spiritual Living, our mother organization. And it starts out this way. Sacred activism intertwines the ethos of the unstatus quo with spiritual depth, urging individuals and communities to embrace the higher purpose in their pursuit of social change. It recognizes that activism, when infused with spiritual awareness, becomes a sacred duty, a path to not only external transformation, but also inner awakening. The spiritual grounding empowers spiritual activists to challenge the status quo, not merely out of a desire for change, but as an expression of their devotion to the sacredness inherent in all life. And it goes on because it talks about how our organization, Centers for Spiritual Living, is embracing a paradigm shift. And it's a paradigm shift around spiritual social activism. That's why we now have this beautiful election intention, 100 days of mindful practice. It's non-bipartisan that anybody can pick up. And I'm loving it because every day I get a voicemail with a message, a blessing. And it allows all of us to really hold the greater vision of a unification, of a unified world, of not that we can't have different opinions, but that we come together to celebrate this beautiful country and each other and all of our differences. So I would take a look at that. That's why I made a copy of it, because it has the website under Sacred Activism, and also you can sign up for an email, receiving an email, a weekly email. So the question then in our spiritual practices, the sacred activism part, is to ask, what is mine to do? What is mine to contribute? What is my part? Maybe it means go to other. Go to a place, do something different, be part of a group you might never participate in. Just step out of this comfort zone that makes us feel safe. And just notice what shows up for you. I know many of you do this. How many of you are of service in the community? Yeah, what do you serve?
Voting.
Yeah, she's working on voting. I serve and teach meditation to inmates in the Morristown Correction Facility.
Food.
Food banks,
A recovery community.
recovery community,
The animal shelter.
animal shelters. Yeah, there's so many places that are different from our circle that we can go to serve, not just to serve and to help, but to lend our spiritual consciousness that we've developed over the years. Now, in our teaching, we say there are 10 gods, right? Right?
No.
Can you name them? No? What do we say?
One God.
One God. I want you to really think about that. One God. Is that one God only for white people?
No.
Is it only for certain groups of politics? Is it only for healthy people? Is it only for immigrants? No. Yet we think that way unconsciously. We unconsciously say, well, one God, but not for them, because they are going to hell in a handbasket. They're bad people, they're evil. So we get to kind of check and see, there's only one life, is what we teach. There's only one God, and we say we're all two. No, wait, no. We say we're all three. No, that's not it either. What do we say? We're all one. We're all one. How do we feel that, see that, experience that, practice that, live that? Because the science of mind teaching is not just entertainment and it feels good. It is a life. It's a way of life. So how do we live that? How do we prove that? How do we practice that? Especially in the places where we might be a little uncomfortable. And so I want to kind of think about how we can notice that in a spiritual practice kind of way by using the 5 steps of treatment. Spiritual mind treatment is our practice of affirmative prayer, and it has 5 steps. And the first step is recognition. What do we recognize?
One God.
The one God. We recognize the one God, which is always an invitation. Okay, wait. One God. I can trust that. I can trust that a little bit deeper. I can trust that over here, and maybe I'm willing to practice it over here. It's that willingness to say, namaste, even to the people that I may judge or may be afraid of. Maybe just quietly in the privacy of our own spiritual practice, our own heart, our own mind. Maybe you're not going to stop and shop or shop and save and go, namaste, 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 but you can do it quietly. Right? You can do it quietly and peacefully. It's actually really fun. Step 2. Unification. Yes, in unification we say only certain life is sacred but other isn't.
No.
Right?
No.
We do that. We do that. When we look at our lives, and we really look with openness and honesty, we can see where we believe that life is sacred and where we don't believe it. That's the juicy area of our spiritual practice. We get to expand it to that. And now what's fairly important is to suspend all judgment, because judgment shuts that door and doesn't allow us to grow and heal. So just notice that and just kind of go, I am willing to see all life and all beings as sacred. Because when we see something as sacred, we bring it out. It's like saying, I don't like that, but I know it's sacred, so I pull out the sacred and I have a different experience. So, step 2 was unification, which invites us to not be a divider, but to be a unifier. We talk about that politically. It's everywhere on the news, whether you're looking at whatever side, because at this point, I don't even know what's true anymore. Because it's all like, right? So we can look within and say, so yes, we live in a divided nation, but I too, there for the grace of God go I, am a divider. How can I be a unifier? Where can I be a unifier? Where can I remember that there's only one life, that life is God's life, and that life is sacred? So yes, we can start at a more shallow level, but it always reflects a deeper level, right? And so that's where we do healing work. So step 3 is affirmation, realization, revelation. Yes, so recognition, unification, realization. Yes, realization is the how. How am I going to practice being a unifier? And what part of me that's dividing do I have to release or heal? So that's the how, and the how is something we can ask in our spiritual practice, which I do every day in my spiritual practice. What is mine to do? How am I to serve this sacred, unified, divine life? And then listen, because there will be an answer. I know we get a little impatient because there's weapons of mass distraction, which is intentional, right? And so we let go of those distractions and we listen more deeply for the guidance. Step 4, gratitude or acceptance. This is where we get to be more mindful and more heartful and more grateful for how far we've already come, because remember, nobody crawled in here on hands and knees babbling like a baby. We've all grown and learned, and we get to be grateful for that and accept that. I am learning flamenco dancing. And yesterday was the hardest lesson. Thank you. Yesterday was the hardest lesson, and I said to the teacher, I've learned every step up until now, and I know I will learn this step as well. So I have to tell myself, right? I have to keep telling myself when it gets a little hard, is that I've learned a few things before. I tell that to my friends that I'm teaching knitting. It's like when I first started I'm making something right now, and I'm going to pull my hair out and just, throw it in the trash because it's a really difficult pattern. But I sat with it and sat with it and sat with it, and now I don't even have to look at the pattern anymore because it's becoming second nature. That's true in life as well, that when we begin to practice, it gets easier and easier. We have to have faith in ourselves, right? Step 5. Release, letting go. We ask ourselves, what do I have to let go so that I can be more of a unifier? So I can remember that God is everywhere and everyone all the time. So that I can know that all life is sacred. And we do this with patience and gentleness because we figured out that baseball bats don't work, whether they're real or metaphoric. And so that's the healing step, isn't it? The letting go is the healing step. We notice, we release. We notice what's in the way, we let it go. That's the beautiful work of The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. So I want to close with a quote that is in the journal, this beautiful journal this year with the new logo for August. and it's the reflection on page 83, those of you that have the journal. It says, when I only operate in the status quo, I miss so much beauty and growth that happens when I move outside my normal and step into the beyond. Let me read that again. When I only operate in the status quo, I miss so much beauty and growth that happens when I move outside my normal and I step into the beyond. We're already stepping into the beyond simply because you're here. You love this community and you love this teaching. But now, because of how the world is, there is a call to be more committed, more intentional, more aware, more present. And that means that we get to be part of co-creating a world that works for everyone. The beautiful message of Centers for Spiritual Living. So we have a song now. It's a bit meditative, but you're welcome to sing along. And then we have John.
So let's just stay in that presence, that feeling. You might want to let your eyes close. So if you really knew that there was only one of us right now, what's that one? Is it, for you, is it love? Is it peace? Is it light? Now, there's no right way to do this, but what is it to you? That one. Just allow that to be present. It's not something we're creating. It's something that is present. Just allow that to be present. And when you're ready, open your eyes, look around at the people in the room. What ideas of otherness show up? Can you bring that feeling, that sense of this one present for yourself as you see the otherness? Maybe right now you can't stop seeing the otherness, but can you also have the consciousness of the one in the otherness? So Reverend Frankie asked me to talk a little bit about my experience of change that's going on in my life. And this is, she sort of talked about everything that I was going to talk about. And because there's only one. Right? I have been really challenged with this election season that we're going through, right? And I'm a practitioner, which, what does that mean? It just means that I practice what I believe, right? As probably everybody here does. It's a challenge. It's a challenge. Things seem so othered, right? It doesn't matter which side of the political divide you're on. Oh, I know. I can be so self-righteous about it, right? I catch myself, right? How do we bring these truths that we come here on Sunday morning to hear, how do we bring them present on Monday morning? Right? This, one thing about the science of mind that I always say, this is not a Sunday morning religion. It's not, right? What happens on Monday morning when you turn on the TV or you check in on your internet browser and there's that, oh, that guy said that thing. Oh my God, I can't believe he said that, right? That's the othering process. How do I get past that? Not make believe that it didn't happen, but know that there's a deeper truth that is present. And that by that knowing, and by continually going back to that knowing, that becomes the stronger part of me. Then when I'm in the middle of it and that guy says that thing again, instead of going there and letting that upset me, which you know how easy that is. I mean, I don't need to tell you how easy it is to just, in a second, my mind is off, right? If anybody comes here, that's not our goal, to be in that place of our mind being off. Our goal is to know that love is present. This teaching says very clearly, and I believe it 100%, we live in a world of love, of peace, of light, of joy, and we don't experience it because we're focused on something else, right? So for me, it's very interesting when I started realizing at the beginning of this election process that my mind was going there, right? And sometimes I would refuse to talk to my friends about politics, not because I was in a higher place, but because I was scared of going there. Because I know that if I go there, I can't talk about it neutrally. It's hard. I find it really hard. And so I started doing practice. What do I know in this teaching or any teaching that can help change that place inside of me that keeps wanting to go and be excited and be upset? Let's face it, we like being upset. Because if we didn't like it, we wouldn't do it. Right? It doesn't feel like that's what's happening. At that moment, it feels like the world grabs you and makes you upset. If there's one thing that we know from this teaching, the world can't make you upset. The response to what's going on is what brings upsetness. So for me, what is very interesting, I have 2 prayer partners I meet with once a week on the phone. We talk about what's going on. We do treatment for each other. We focus on the loving, on the divine presence. I have classes I'm taking and all that stuff. So I started really focusing on peace. For me, in the past, I've always focused on loving. Right? To me, that seems to me that the core of this teaching is there is love. We are that. That's what Jesus talked about. Great spiritual teachers all talked about. What's present is love. And we go there. I started thinking, you know what I experience? I experience a lack of peace. And I am tired of it. Right? It's exhausting. So I started treating for it, doing affirmative prayer for it, and had my prayer partners doing different things. And it's very interesting, how these things show up, right? We believe that you don't outline, you don't say, I want the result in this form. I know that what I want to experience is peace. And if peace is what is present in the world, I want to be open to that. So that's what I was praying for. That's what I was focusing on. We always say what you focus on expands, right? I was trying to focus. Every time I caught myself going there, okay, what can I do? It was very interesting. Shortly after I started this, I heard a quote from a book. I went, ooh, I like that. Gee, that's a book by Ernest Holmes that I never read. It's called This Thing Called Life. Well, I have my tablet and I have my Kindle books and, This Thing Called Life. I went, I have a copy of that. And then I opened up and it was all marked up with things that I had. And I didn't remember. Anyway, I started reading it, and the very first thing in that book, not the very first thing, but right near the beginning, is this meditation on peace. And you know how when you're open and really searching, you look. It's the old example they say: when you think you want to buy a red car, suddenly every car that goes by is red, right? Suddenly, I went. I don't remember seeing this, but I read this book, and it. Sometimes you're really open. It just went right into me, right? And I've talked before. I have this hobby of memorizing things. This is like a 10-line thing. After an hour, I knew it. I went, okay, I memorize stuff, but it doesn't take me an hour. It takes me several days. It just went right inside, and then started like an affirmation. I just started repeating it all day long, focusing on peace. Now, we don't know how these things show up. Those of us who've been practicing this teaching, things show up because what you focus on expands. Your world opens up in that way. Suddenly I found, in a class I'm in, a memory of something that happened to me when I was a teenager. It's not that I had forgotten that happened to me, But I made a decision based on that thing that happened to me, that I was in danger. Not physically, that it was dangerous for me to go in that direction. And so I ran away. I did things in my life to avoid that. No, that was when I was a teenager, and as you notice, I'm not a teenager anymore. And still, that piece lives in me. Now, I have been really working with that. How many places in my life that I run away? It's still living inside of me. And one of the things that I do is my physical environment is a mess, has always been. My desk is always piled high with stuff. And I decided, why do I do that? I do that because I'm scared of what I'll find if I actually look at what's there. And so I have been trying, this is my practice, I have been trying, every time I catch myself doing that is, I wonder what's behind that. What am I running away from? What would I find if I stay there? So I cleaned my desk. For the first time in months, my desk was clean. And I keep looking at, I wonder what is under there, behind there, around there. What would I free if I go there? So for me, my process, I look at that and I think, all these years I've been doing spiritual practice, it never occurred to me that that's something I need to do. So simply by focusing on peace, suddenly all sorts of things are opening up inside of me. You think that you get to a point where you know this stuff. You understand this stuff. There is always more. There's always more to discover, and it is a precious, precious process to just focus on that. Now, I'll just say, for me, spiritual practice, every day, easy to say, right? I'm a retired guy. I can sit down and do that every day. You have 5 minutes. You have 5 minutes in your day instead of watching TV or reading the newspaper or something like that. You can stop and focus on whatever works for you. Love, peace, light. You can do that. When you do that, what you focus on expands. This is a teaching of actual change, if you use it. So,
Are you going to share the peace prayer with us? Please.
well, I did last time I was here.
She wasn't here.
Peace is at the center of your being. Peace is at the center of my being. I'm consciousness. Okay, well, we'll do this real quickly because I know Reverend Frankie's waiting for me to finish here. Just relax. I'll repeat this prayer. Peace is at the center of my being. I'm conscious of this peace. I enter into this peace. I'm surrounded by this peace. This peace moves out of me in all directions. It calms the troubled waters of my experience. It heals everything it contacts. There is nothing but peace. If you just went around the rest of this day saying, there is nothing but peace, and keep going back to that, tomorrow watch what happens. Thanks.
So it is.
Thank you, Doc. This thing called You or this thing called
This
Life?
thing called life.
This thing called Life, one of my favorite Ernest Holmes books, and it's a great place to start if anybody's new. It's just so powerful. Thank you, John. So, a couple of things I want you to know about is that next week we have a fantastic guest speaker. She's brilliant. I adore her. She has quite a life story. Here's somebody who lives this teaching and has transformed her life, and it's our own Lori Carlson. hopefully speaking in Princeton. We don't know yet, Norman and I don't know yet whether we're traveling or not. His sister passed away and there's a memorial for her, but anyway, long story. So I'll be either in Florida or in Princeton. Heat. So the other thing I want to tell you is that the week after that, we have Susan Neat from Princeton offering, she's assisting practitioner, she's going to teach a workshop called I Love My Body. Which is really, she's a great teacher. It's a short workshop. Be sure to register for that. It's all on the flyer and our weekly constant contact. And the other thing I want you to know about next weekend, there's a New Thought Food and Fun Gathering. How many of you went last year? It was really fun. It's going to be at Unity in Lafayette, and if anybody has any questions, speak to Lori, and you must register for this ASAP. So
Today.
Today.
Tomorrow is the cutoff, and if we don't have enough people, we're not gonna have it. So register
must
today.
register today. Yes. I am starting a workshop, and as far as I know, it's the last thing I'll be teaching. But who knows, right? I get inspiration all the time. But this is called The Spirituality of Aging. It's Wednesday nights on Zoom. You can take one class, you can take all 6 of them. The flyer is over here, and you also must register for that on Breeze. If anybody needs help with that, let me know. And we have Kat doing a sound bath again in September, so we'll be talking about that some more. Flyers are over there. It's going to be in our newsletter. And we have a community meeting on Sunday, September 8th, which is a month from now. We want all of you to be there. Because this community meeting is, who are we going to be after I'm gone? And you all get to be a part of that. You all get to have a voice in that. So, let's have our offering. I know that each of us offers something by being part of this community, even if it's just being present. So this is an invitation to give financially if you can, if you want, if you love. Personally, I'm a tither, and I have found that once I started giving, I remember Jean Boulay saying you can't outgive God. Started giving, it changed everything, it just opened something. So those of you that want to give, there's a basket going around. I know that some of you give online or use Venmo or PayPal or give monthly or annually, and we are incredibly grateful for your generosity because it's what allows us to keep our doors open. So repeat after me. Divine love consecrates my gift.
Divine love consecrates my gift.
It goes forth to heal, prosper, and bless.
It goes forth to heal, prosper, and bless.
It returns to me multiplied abundantly.
It returns to me multiplied abundantly.
As I share my good,
As I share my good,
I accept my greater good.
I accept my greater good.
And so it is.
And so it is.
All right, so as that basket moves around, we have our social hour today with Val and John. Those of you that wandered in late, it's their 50th wedding anniversary. And they're treating us. What a blessing. So now we have John closing us with a healing treatment.
And so what a glorious thing it is to be together with people of like mind, like heart.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's interesting, I find myself part of this community. Now when I come here, I feel like I'm part of this community.
You are.
So in that consciousness of community and the oneness in community, I know that this word is for all those who have participated in today's celebration and who may participate online. What I know is that there really is only one, and that one is infinite living blessing, always, everywhere, at all times. And since there is only one, that means that every form, every person in the universe is that one. An expression, an experience of that one. And so that I know all the people who are here today are the expression of that one. And what lives in each one is this infinite living blessing. And so I know that as each person goes forth into their lives, they experience that blessing. They know that the truth, the word that lives in them is, I expect to be blessed. And so that consciousness of expectation of blessing, of the highest good for each one, is now fully present in all. And so lives are changed, and change is welcomed. And each one is knowing the highest, the best change for them is what is present. And each one is now growing, learning, living in greater love, in greater peace, in greater truth. And I am so grateful to stand in that truth and know it. I release it. It is done. And so it is.
So it is.